Hello and welcome back to this exciting episode of Unleash Your Inner Athlete. I'm so excited about my guest today. She really knows how to make health and fitness fun. So particularly for those of us who are female founders and you're getting 40 plus, this is going to be really vital information for you because I know what it's like when you're starting a business, particularly if you're working for yourself, by yourself. You've got so many tasks, so many commitments, not just to your clients and your business and your passion and desire to bring this project that you've had, that you're excited about to life, which takes an awful lot of time and focus, but also looking at how sometimes we can forget all those important things like our health and fitness and put them to one side. We don't actually give ourselves enough attention, but also the effects of having to run a business and be a female founder can also affect your mental, physical health and potentially your relationships if you don't get a good balance. So with my guest today, she's passionate about CrossFit. She's passionate about health and fitness. She's got a vast amount of experience she's going to share with you. We'll get and talking to her about her next launch of her next membership. And also maybe she'll tell us a little bit about why she's passionate about socks and how all this has helped her create the business and the lifestyle she enjoys and her success. So welcome, Hayley Field.
Hi, Julia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. I am so excited to talk to you because I've been looking at your website. I was looking at your social media, and you just seem to have this way to make fitness fun, which I think for a lot of people, if they're not like a bit of a fitness nerd like myself and love going to the gym and like that, most people are not that keen on it. But you seem to have this way of holistically bringing all the things, because obviously you're a nutrition coach, you've done cognitive behavioral therapy. So you really look at people's habits and behaviors, sort of the mindset behind it, the mental health side of health and fitness as well. And you're bringing all this together. So I really want to get into that in a bit more depth with you a little bit later on. And then obviously your methods and how you train people. And then we're also going to touch on, your next projects that are coming up. We know you're an author as well. You do have a book as well. But first of all, for you, you set up your business really from your bed, didn't you? Because you had a back injury.
I did.
You did. So tell us a little bit about what that's like. So setting up a business on its own is highly stressful. It takes a lot of time and energy. You need to be fit. You need to be healthy. How did you manage to do that? First of all, how did you manage to break your back, if you want to share that with us? But also how you managed to set up a business when you're in pain. And then, what were the drivers behind that for you?
Wow, that's a big question. I have not always been doing what I do now. I was an IT consultant for quite a long time. So I was a software project manager and worked for like big utility companies and local government and ambulance services and all that kind of stuff. And I was really good at it, but I didn't necessarily fit in to that corporate world because I like to do things a bit differently, which I'm sure you've probably got from my content. So although I didn't really enjoy it, it was quite hard to leave because obviously as a consultant, you get paid quite a good day rate. So I was just kind of bobbing along doing it. And then in 2013, I started CrossFit, which I'm sure there's some of your viewers might be rolling their eyes now because it's a bit of a cult, but I love it. And I started CrossFit and really just found something that I absolutely loved. And my coach, my mentor, Martin Foster, I'll give him a bit of a name drop. He ran this thing called the Clean Eating Challenge, which was like an 8-week nutrition challenge in our CrossFit box. And I took part in the first one and I found that I really enjoyed like putting recipes together and looking at like how can I make things high protein and stuff. So I ended up helping him out in these challenges. And he said, "Oh, like you're really good at this. Have you thought about doing this for a job?" And I was like, can't really start a business when I haven't even got the qualifications yet, and I'm very sort of I'm 20 years into my other career, so I did some nutrition qualifications anyway, just really for my own interest really, and to see how I could optimize my CrossFit performance. I'm a type A personality, so of course I've started CrossFit and decided I'm immediately going to optimize my whole life to be good at CrossFit. So I did that. And then I continued helping out in the challenges. And then in June 2014, I was training with Martin and doing some deadlifts. I was doing some sprinting and stuff. And halfway through the session, I just felt this bit of a weird pain in my glute, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh. He was like, oh, do you want to finish the session? I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm fine. Whatever. Anyway, I did it, and I went home, and the next morning I couldn't get out of bed. So to cut a long story short, because there was a few other incidents where I drove myself across town to see my friend who was a chiropractor and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, you need to go to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, they did an MRI and they found over 20 historical fractures in my back.
Wow, 20.
Yes. And this particular fracture was like a serious one, that it was literally the straw that broke the camel's back, because they found out I had a condition called spondylolisthesis, which is something that you get when it's a birth defect, basically, where one of my vertebrae is completely out of line with the rest of my spine.
Okay.
And a mild form of spina bifida, where my spine hadn't actually grown all the way round. So hence I'd just been breaking my back my whole life and not really noticing.
Because you think you'd feel the pain.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, obviously, when I look at, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I remember I had quite a bad back. I went for quite a few back massages and that kind of thing. And I was a pole dancer for a while. And, when I was doing a lot of back bends and stuff, I was like, oh, I feel a bit achy. But, when you exercise, you just think aches and pains are part of
It's normal, isn't it?
Yeah. I have got quite a high pain threshold, which I don't think is a good thing sometimes, because I can't tell you the number of injuries I've been like, oh, I've just soldiered on through it, and then later found out, my tendons hanging by a thread or something weird. But yeah, so basically, this was quite a serious break, and I had to then wait for 4 months for spinal fusion surgery. I had to have my spine fused together, L5 and S1, which is quite a serious operation. But I was in a lot of pain, and then I was bedbound for 4 months while I was waiting for it. So I was on fentanyl patches, I was on morphine, it was just gabapentin, like everything, just to try and control this pain, which was horrific. And obviously during this time I got really depressed, because I loved being a CrossFitter. I loved being a healthy person. This was like an identity that I was very keen to embody, because I hadn't always been that healthy in the past. I'd had, a few issues where I hadn't been that healthy and hadn't looked after myself that well. So, this new CrossFit thing was something that allowed me to kind of be the opposite of that. And it was just all taken away from me. I went from working out every day to being laying in bed. I lost my contract. I was self-employed, so I lost my contract because I couldn't get into the office. So Martin, again, sent a couple of people around to my house to have nutrition consultations. So the very first nutrition consultations I did in my business were me lay in my bed with my laptop kind of there, and the clients sat on the edge of the bed like this, telling me all about their nutrition. And so I'm really grateful to him for doing that, because it sort of pulled me out of this, depression that I was in. And that's how I started my business, just from my bed with my laptop.
So, I mean, how do you think then, even though that was dreadful to, like you say, you're stuck in bed, incredible pain, you've had to give up things you love, which is being really active and that purpose you had in your life. And, and when you're really passionate about something, whether it's your business, your fitness, whatever it is, it's when you're forced to give up, like an athlete who is forced to give up their sport due to injury. You're not just giving up something you're not bothered about, it's something you're passionate about, and people having to understand not being able to be active when you're used to being a very active person, which you clearly are. You love being active. It is hard to take, and it does take its toll, like say, on you mentally and physically, but also the financial stress of not being able to earn money. But then how that's kind of almost going through that tough part in your life has given you that drive and that purpose to get yourself fitter and healthier. Because I mean, now I'm assuming you're injury free.
I'm never injury free.
Well, yeah.
I was told
back to CrossFit and all those sorts of things.
I was told to never do CrossFit ever again. I was
Oh,
told I would never do CrossFit. I shouldn't do any deadlifts, heavy weightlifting, back squats, anything like that. So I was literally went back to CrossFit 8 weeks after my surgery,
oh,
because I thought I'm not having that.
yeah.
It's not happening. I had quite a bad experience with my surgery. The surgery was done wrong the first time, and they caused permanent nerve damage in my left leg. So 4 days after my first surgery, they had to go and take me back in. They found out they'd put a screw in the wrong place. And so I had to go back in, have it taken out and put back in again. But I found, and I know this is not everyone's experience of the NHS, which is amazing, but and the nurses and everything were lovely. It was the surgeons and the consultants who there was a lot of negative language around my surgery, a lot of negative language around my recovery in terms of you must never do this. If you do this kind of intense exercise, you'll break the screws in your back. I found that bit incredibly difficult. So I ended up rehabbing myself and also going private with some rehab stuff out of spite, really, because they said you'll never do CrossFit, you won't be able to do these things. And that didn't make sense to me, because how am I supposed to get my back and my core and everything strong if I don't use it? They told me, oh, you should do a bit of swimming and a bit of walking. And I'm like, to someone who needs intensity to manage their mental health, that was just the worst thing for me. So it was out of spite, really, that I ended up doing all of those things that I said that I was told I would never do. And that's 10 years ago. And now I'm 50 and I can do a double body weight deadlift, and I do CrossFit every day. And I did a 10K PB last year. So for anyone who's listening,
They were wrong.
anyone who's injured or feels like they're too old to recover properly from an injury, just don't I know there are lots of experts out there, but you are the expert in you and your body, and with guidance from the right people, you can recover from anything. I honestly believe that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree with you. And it's sort of going back to that, because obviously you're a mind, you understand the brain, neuroscience and all this. But also it's so easy to forget that we're so heavily influenced by what other people say, based on their knowledge, based on their belief, how they've been educated and, their knowledge. And it's not to dismiss a medical professional's knowledge or experience. But they also forget to take in, like you say, your whole way of life, your attitude, your behaviors, your likes, your dislikes, your history, whether it's your physical history or medical history, your life. But also understanding that just because people say you can't do something doesn't mean it's not possible. And I think very, very many people, some people use it as a good excuse not to have to do something. But I think we can also be influenced not to try because somebody has instilled that fear into us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, went to great pains to explain. So I'm neurodivergent as well. And the reason I do intense exercise is to manage a lot of my mental health and the symptoms around that. So, even with that knowledge, I was, given to those professionals to say, look, it's actually really important that I exercise. It's not just I like doing it. I was still surprised at quite a lot of the advice I was given, and the physio even that I was given. So the NHS physio I was given was the same, because I was quite young to have this operation. Apparently people have this either you find out when you're a teenager that you have this condition. So people kind of like 14, 15 might have this operation, or otherwise you find out when you're older and things start to degenerate. But I was given the same rehab as an 80-year-old woman who might have this operation. And I'd been CrossFitting and I'd been a boxer before that. I was a fit and healthy person. So I I understand with the NHS, they have to operate within some guidelines. So maybe they can't, because they're not able to stray out of those guidelines. It means that maybe you don't always get the best advice for your particular situation if you're an outlier in any.
Yeah. And I think there are, like you talk about outliers there, and there are always exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
And you can't rehab someone, like you say, as an 80-year-old when they're still young, fit, generally healthy, and expect them to just want to age like an 80-year-old when they're maybe 30, 40, 50. Particularly if you say they're quite an A-type personality, you know, they're used to hitting goals. I mean, I know you like to call it badass energy. You know, and you've got to understand that about the person you have in front of you. If you've got someone like that, they don't want to sit around and just give up on life.
No.
And is this something you found actually with your clients? This segues quite nicely into what you do with the client base that you have, which is sort of 40 plus female founders, you know, entrepreneurial, high achieving, or they want to achieve high amounts.
Yeah.
And it's like bringing in that balance of you can still do the business, you can still be there, and you can overcome all these health issues. And I know going through menopause and perimenopause, all these sorts of things can affect us as we're getting older. I've had multiple discussions on this. But it affects women uniquely in a different way, and particularly when it comes to your health and performance, needing that energy, because you don't just need it just to be fit and healthy. You need it to be able to keep going in your business, because you can easily get fatigue, burnout, and just feel demotivated and overwhelmed with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think perimenopause is hard for a lot of people. I feel like it's particularly hard for what I call these, you know, type A, and I'm, you know, including myself in this, these type A kind of high achiever women, because these are women who, you know, I've got clients who are judges, CEOs of 6-figure businesses, lawyers, like, or, you know, super smart women, super competent women, and they're, you know, performing at this really high level every day in their businesses and their lives, and then all of a sudden they've forgotten how to reverse their car, you know, because this is how perimenopause affects your brain sometimes. And you know, it can be really hard, because you're going from being this high achiever to suddenly not being able to do the most basic of things, and also this kind of change of identity as well. And I know for, you know, what happened in particular with my perimenopause is I'd never really had anxiety before. And I got the worst anxiety to the point where I couldn't go to the shop I didn't want to go outside to the shop on my own. I felt like I was becoming invisible. I felt like I was becoming slowly rubbed out, you know, like a pencil drawing. Like I wasn't, you know, my daughter's grown up, like she doesn't need me anymore. Like what's the point in my life? You know, it was really awful. And that's hard for anyone, but it's particularly hard for women who are used to being super competent or always seen as the one in charge. And I think that the other point that, you know, that with those kind of women is they're not just being CEOs of 6-figure businesses. They are, you know, organizing their family's social life. They're looking after aging parents. They're helping teenagers through GCSEs. They're the person who knows that this kid's, you know, needs new school shoes because they've grown out of them. And this kid needs to go to the dentist at 3:00, and like all of this stuff. And the perimenopause, and then the separate, which I think people don't separate out, is you've got symptoms from perimenopause, but you've also got symptoms of aging, which are separate to perimenopause as well. So there's so much stuff going on. And I feel like people start to feel like they're irrelevant or they're invisible, which is why I'm very keen with my coaching and with everything I do to say to people, you can still do extraordinary things. You can. And I know it feels like you can't, and you feel like maybe parts of your life are over, but that's not true. I mean, how I got through my perimenopause was, you know, I've had this like horrible anxiety that I wasn't going to get any fitter, any stronger. I wasn't going to do anything extraordinary. I wasn't going to, you know, meet new people and do new things. So I decided to do 15 ultra marathons in a year.
Wow. That is one way to take the bull by the horns.
It was just, you know, when you just get, I I just had to, I felt like, I mean, I am a bit of an extreme person, but I just felt like there has to be an extreme stimulus to shock you out of this, whatever this is. And just to prove to myself and to other people that, age, I firmly believe that aging appropriately is a choice, and it is about mindset, and it is about challenging yourself and continuing to be outside of your comfort zone. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you start staying in your comfort zone, which is really easy when you get older because you're a little bit more cautious and things are not maybe working as they used to, but I feel like that is the beginning of your decline as soon as you start to live inside your comfort zone.
I think you're really right. And it actually goes back to the point we were saying about we're influenced by other people, whether it's your grandmother, your mother, people, your friends, people at work telling you, oh no, you're too old for this, or you should be giving up on that, making a fool of yourself, or women of your age, and all these kind of narratives. And you get to that age and you start subconsciously thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
But in fact, like you say, once you break through that and you take that step and decide to do something that maybe for you is a bit extreme, or it's not, somebody doesn't have to go and do 15 ultra marathons, but it might be personal to them that makes them really go beyond what they thought was possible. Once they've done that, then you feel this great energy and this, I can do anything. I don't have to be held back because of my age. Age is just a number. Obviously, there are factors you have to take into consideration, and some things you may need support and guidance and help, but it's worth even taking those steps to explore it and see what is possible. What could I do? And I think that's really important.
It is, absolutely. And also you're right in saying that's particular to you. I've got people in Root Health Club who, like, some of them have done an Ironman, right? But some of them have also committed to doing a 5K walk in the morning before they go to work, or they've committed to just being able to do some mobility stuff. So whatever it is for them, but as part of what we do, we also arrange like in-person meetups and things. So I try and gently nudge people and say, hey, we're doing one on the 4th of September. Actually, we're going to walk. I live in Bournemouth, on the Jurassic Coast, which is lovely. So we're going to walk from Branksome to Old Harry Rocks, which is an 11K walk. It's fairly flat, but for some people, that's going to be outside of their comfort zone. But we're going to come together and do it. No one's going to get left behind. We're all going to go at the same pace. So I want to give people the opportunity to do these things. I did it when I did the 15 ultra marathons. The last one was actually a 25K walk through London on Halloween. And you weren't allowed to do any running or anything because it was in London. So I encouraged, they would say forced, 2 of my one-to-one clients to do it with me, because they're like, I've never walked 25K in my life. And I was like, it's going to be fine. And, 2 months before, I gave them both a little walking plan so they could, slowly increase their distance. But they'd only have, by the time we did the walk, the furthest they'd walked, it was 15 kilometers, but they both did it on the day. So I just want to have a nice, safe space to create opportunities for people to do whatever is outside of their comfort zone, with the encouragement of lots of women who feel exactly the same as them.
And I think that's really great. I mean, this is what I love about what you're doing. It's so, everyone uses the word holistic, but it really is. But you have that way of helping people on a very much an individual basis, what's right for them as well. And I think what's really key when we go back to people's, because I'm very passionate about mind-body connection, but particularly sort of mind health, mental health. And as women and being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you could be very isolated. So something that's getting people out of their comfort zone, but doing it in a group of supportive other women who are in the same sort of situation. You've got the social aspect, which is great for yourself. You've got the health and fitness aspect, which is great for yourself. You're getting outside, which is brilliant for your health, your mental and physical health as well. So, how did you find this unique method that you have, the approach that you have? Where did you find that sort of gap in the market? What did you find women were generally coming to you and saying, look, I need some help?
Yeah. It's interesting, actually, because I didn't even know it was a gap. And, this sounds really like I'm blowing my own trumpet. But
blow away.
I honestly have never come across anyone who does things in this way. And I can't believe it, because to me it's very obvious, but I think it's because it's developed over the 11 and a bit years I've been in business now. So obviously I started off as a nutritionist. I started off with sports nutrition. So I was helping like weightlifters, boxers, triathletes, all that kind of stuff. And then later on, I started helping more business owners. And I realized quite quickly that even though I was a nutritionist, I wasn't actually having that many conversations about food. And I realized that's because, the demographic that I'm working with, which is, smart people, they know what they're supposed to eat. Everyone really knows what they're supposed to eat, right? And maybe what they're meant to kind of dial back on a little bit. Everyone knows you need to eat some protein, fruit and veg, stay hydrated, all that kind of stuff. It's not a knowledge issue. It's a mindset issue. And that can be anything to do with your core beliefs about, how you were brought up around food, around health, what importance was placed on it in your particular, environment. It could be a throwaway comment that's been internalized and made you believe, one of your core beliefs is I don't deserve to be healthy, I'm not worthy of this, or I'm, inherently lazy. Like it could be anything to do with that. It could be more on the physiological side, where maybe you can't stick to your healthy habits because your sleep is terrible. If your sleep's terrible, then leptin, your hunger hormone, doesn't reset properly. You're tired, so you don't make good decisions because cognitively you're not operating optimally. So, already you're hungrier and you're not as good at making good decisions about your health. So, that's probably where I would start with that person. Or I've had clients who come to me, I think I need to lose a bit of weight. And then we actually find out they're so stressed. They've been in A&E the week before on a defibrillator because they've got heart palpitations. And you're like, okay, well, I'm not putting you in a calorie deficit because that's a physiological stressor on the body anyway. So we need to sort this stress out first. So I think it's because I realized that every barrier that people were coming up against was nothing to do with the fact that, you can't there's no point giving someone a meal plan. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be eating. It's not a knowledge problem. So then each client that I came across who had a particular issue, because I also I'm addicted to learning and doing courses. Each client I came across, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. How could I help them more? I'll go and do a course on the thing they're getting a problem with. So that's how I ended up with all these different qualifications, like, the stress and recovery practitioner, sleep science practitioner, health mindset coach, certified menopause coach. Like all these are all things that happened because of a particular issue with the client or something that shone a light on a gap in my knowledge that I wanted to fill. So that's how I ended up collecting this kind of collection of qualifications. And then it was probably only about 3 years ago, I sort of sat back and I was like, well, this is interesting, because I was kind of looking at them all separately and thinking a lot about, when I've done some courses in health psychology, and we talk a lot about the biopsychosocial model. So the fact that, obviously your biology, your psychology, and your physiology, and also your environment all have an impact on how healthy you can be in your decisions and stuff. So I was kind of thinking about that as well. And I was thinking, I think there's some sort of framework coming here. And that's when I created my Ninja framework. Obviously, it's a Ninja framework. I love to shoehorn acronyms into things if I can. So this is my coaching framework, and it underpins every single thing that I do. So the first N is needs. So that's kind of physical needs like nutrition, sleep, diet, all of that kind of stuff. And then I is for identity. That's when we work on the core beliefs and the things that might be holding you back. For instance, I get a lot of people who maybe have lost an awful lot of weight. So I've got clients who've lost, 40, 50 kilos, but they haven't successfully been able to keep it off previously because their identity, they're still a bigger person in a big body. So that identity feels incongruent with the habits that a healthy person does. So it keeps pulling them back into this kind of old situation.
Yeah.
So we look at that. N is for network. So we look at the people you spend time with, the boundaries you enforce or don't, your environment as a whole, is it conducive to health? And then J is for judgment. So that is about regulating your emotions. So that is about self-sabotage, procrastination, all of those things. Shame spirals is another one. And particularly for women, we've got this good girl loop going on and being praised for being productive and finding our self-worth in our productivity. And then A is for action. So that's all of the practical habit stuff, about building momentum, building rituals and routines instead of habits, the doing, if you like. So yeah, that's my kind of framework that I use to coach people with.
So it's interesting because when you at the end you get to talk taking action, and that is the thing. You can learn everything, but then it's kind of you have to take action at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, do you find that is something that a lot of women struggle with? Is that, like I say, I mean, I'm the best at procrastinating where I can, but
yeah,
there comes a point you have to make that move.
Yeah.
Is that something that you find a lot of women struggle with? Is think, oh God, I need to be doing it, but like you say, you get that anxiety, a little bit of fear, whatever it's based on.
Yeah.
You may not even half the time know why you're anxious and fearful of doing something that inherently is going to be fabulous for you.
Yeah.
And then you start to find the excuse. Once you have to make that move and make that commitment and take that action, is that a sticking point for a lot of people? Do you find you have to work a little bit harder sometimes with people?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons why that happens. It can be to do with fear of failure, fear of success. What happens if I do change? What will the people around me think? Who will I be to them? Will they be uncomfortable that I've changed, my role in their kind of group, if you like? So we have that. We have perfectionism. This is a big one for women. If I can't do it perfectly, then I won't do it at all, because I've been told that everything I do has to be perfect. There's, more kind of tangible things like time, responsibilities, and, the effort that's required. Am I uncomfortable enough to go through more discomfort, or, is the comfort of the discomfort of changing, is that bigger than the discomfort of staying the same? Because until it is, people won't do something different. So yeah, it's really about building momentum around your habits and things, but also addressing, particularly with women, there are very complicated reasons for women not doing the things that they need to do, and it's nothing to do with laziness. It is literally all of these thought patterns around, the perfectionism one is one that I see a lot with my clients, because they feel like unless I can do 6 kind of Barry bootcamp sessions and give up carbs and, whatever other extreme things that they've been told work, then they think that why bother? And I think particularly for successful women as well, because if you think of how those women have got to where they are, the MO is I'll just work harder, faster, better, accumulate more knowledge than anyone else. That's made them very successful in their business. But if you try and apply that MO to your health, you're going to fail really fast, because you can't just do a more extreme version. You can't just do it harder for longer and throw more knowledge at it. You've got to approach it in a completely different way. And for successful women who are not used to that, it's a bit like, it's very jarring to realize that you can't just apply your idea of what successful is to a big area of your life.
Yeah, because I often think that there's 2 ways I see of looking at that. Sometimes you can have a blueprint from something else from your business and take it into your personal life or your health.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you need to have a drastic change in your health, you've got to start from the bottom and work your way up, like you did with your business.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you've got to have that gradual approach. As like you say, if you suddenly think, right, I'm going to take exactly this crazy blueprint from my business and stick it into my health, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get demoralized quickly, because you have to go through those steps and build it up, progress gradually and in a very strategic way, particularly if you've got a specific goal in mind. But I also was wondering as well how much you feel media plays a part, because you have all these sort of ideal woman types who can do anything and everything. You see these fantastic celebrities, they've got an amazing career, fantastic home life, they seem to have it all and be able to do everything. And do you think as a woman that there's pressure on women, and particularly as you get to a certain age and those usual narratives around, oh, you're getting too old, or you past it at a certain age.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also automatically put pressure on ourselves if we don't see ourselves living up to a certain standard that maybe is in the media, because you always think it's the young person tends to be caught up in what's going on in social media, on the TV and whatever, celebrity. But I think maybe as women, as we get older, it's that fear, I guess. You tell me if I'm wrong, but it's that fear of getting older and that aging process. And as we talked about earlier, being enough and there's pressure on us to do more and be more, because this is the expectation. And I want to prove everybody I'm not finished at 40.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are the generation that were brought up with, fashion magazines were huge. We've been brought up with Kate Moss and Heroin Chic and Chris Evans weighing Spice Girls on his TV programs, and all of this stuff that we thought was acceptable, Beyonce's Lemonade diet and all of this stuff that we have been, we're fighting against 30, 40 years worth of conditioning of smaller is better, and your appearance is the most important thing about you, and I think also equating health with thinness and how you look, whereas I always say to my clients, health, the way I define it is the freedom and the fitness to say fuck yes to anything that you're asked. If I'm your crazy friend and I come up to you and go, walk a marathon with me tomorrow, like, you want the fitness and the freedom to go, yeah, I'm going to do that with you. Like, that is what health should be. But unfortunately for us, because we've been brought up with all these 90s and noughties kind of like super skinny people, that isn't the case, and unfortunately I see that continuing into our age bracket. So if you now look at some of what I call the celebrities who've now latched onto menopause, and they've all suddenly started wellness brands, these are people who, still I'm trying to embrace my aging body. These, like, some of these women, naming no minute names, have got a six-pack.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I don't think this is helping. And the amount of misinformation, like, yes, you can say these celebrities have got everything, they've got the body, they've got this, they've got that. Don't for 1 minute think that these women have achieved those things through balance. None of these women have achieved these things through eating a bit more protein and going for some walks. Okay, like, these are women who are promoting things still, like, I'm trying my best not to name any names, but there's a particular person who's got a supplement brand now, which I went on the website the other day because I'm writing a post about it. Some of the claims about what this supplement does is just outrageous. Different powders and things. So I think they're still pushing all of these stupid products. I mean, look at Gwyneth Paltrow's website. I mean, please, we don't need to be buying jade eggs to make our vaginas tighter. It's just not really what we should be doing at our age. So I feel like these menopause, celebrity influencers, they're not achieving things through balance. And also, they are looking at years and years and years of dieting and being thin. So of course they are going to look a bit different to us, even though they're in their 40s, 50s. And one of the reasons I set up the Rude Health Club is I have been quite vocal on my social media about what I call meno washing, which is this kind of brands and celebrities and people taking whatever they're selling and meno washing it. This is now perfect for menopause. I mean, Marks and Spencer's have brought out cooling pajamas, and everything is kind of in this mauve packaging, and here's menopause vitamins and menopause this and menopause tea. I saw that Twinings have started selling. None of these things are any different. A menopause lifting program is just the same as any other lifting program.
It's just become like a huge sort of branding and sales pitch, isn't it? Money making thing. People, some people who really, really struggle with those symptoms. But there's much better ways of managing it than taking these I see them as gimmicks.
Yeah, they are gimmicks, and it really is something that enrages me, because if you look all along our life cycle, women are basically preyed on at our most vulnerable points to make money. You know, when you're like going through puberty, for example, I remember when my period started, there was a big craze for those. Do you remember those like Tampax holders, so you could hide your Tampax away in your bag, and like, you know, like, because all shame, like,
out of your bag.
yeah, God forbid if like anyone knows that you've got your period and you've got Tampax, right? So we've got that. And then when you're pregnant, we're like, oh, pregnancy hormones, and this is the best thing for your baby, and like all of that kind of stuff. And then, you know, now we're aging, it's like menopause, like every single bit of our life stage that we feel slightly vulnerable. Like, I know that when you're in perimenopause and your symptoms are so bad, you will literally do anything, the same as when you're pregnant. You'll do anything to make sure your baby is, you know, healthy when you give birth to it, or you'll do anything to get rid of your perimenopause symptoms. And people prey on this to make money out of you. And it really annoys me. I call it and the other thing that I've noticed is when you're younger, everything is, you know, if it's for women, it's in nice pink sparkly packaging and like a person. When you're in menopause, it's freaking mauve. Menopause mauve, really insipid, like purple, like, you know, with women with grey hair on thing. Like, I'm 50, I'm menopausal, I don't identify with that at all.
No.
And that's why I set up Rude Health Club, because of what I call, sorry, I'm going to swear again now, wellness wankery, which is just these like pastel like PDFs about, oh, don't do intense exercise because you're a delicate flower and resist, you know, you're really sensitive to cortisol now you're old, and like, it's just all rubbish. It's just really, sorry for that rant. It's you hit on something that really annoys me.
But actually, I wanted to get on to you about this because you're set. I can't think of the word. Launching.
Yeah.
Your Rude Health.
Yeah.
So if we get into a bit about what that actually is, what is Rude Health? Because maybe people will get confused by the title.
I have to say Rude Health Club, because Rude Health is nut milk, apparently. There's another brand called Rude Health. Rude Health Club. So I don't like to use the word membership, because when I say membership, that just reminds me of things that people sign up for and never use. Rude Health Club is not about that. It is a community-centric membership. So it's all run on an app, very easy to use. The community is at the heart of it, but there is also, you know, courses, resources, live Q&As. There's a private podcast, and it's basically a community of women who want to do midlife differently. And much like I've spoken about already, so yes, you're going to get evidence-based health advice. You're going to get help with whatever your health goal is, whether you want to walk up a mountain, whether you just want to be able to walk your dog for 30 minutes a day, whether you want to lose some body fat or change your body composition and build some muscle. Like, you'll get support with any health issue that you or any health goal that you have, whether, you know, mindset wise, whatever. You'll get help with all the barriers that are stopping you from achieving that. But you'll also get, you know, in-person meetups. Like I said, we're doing one on the 4th of September where we're doing a nice walk along the coast. And, you know, there's going to be lots of self-diagnostic things in there. So I've got a range of toolkits called, I won't swear again, WTF is going on. It's going on. So there's things like, my sleep is terrible, I've got no energy, and it's like a toolkit that you can download and diagnose yourself with trackers. And so there's just so much in there. But like I said, the main thing is the community. You're going to have access to women. Some of these women have done extraordinary things already. Some of them are just starting on their journey. But everyone is super helpful. You know, and I've got a very kind of stringent process. We don't have, you know, I know everyone has bad days, but we don't have, you know, people in the community who just want to turn up to have a moan every day and not act on the advice that they get. So it's a very positive, supportive community. I keep saying we have. I know it's not launching until September, but I've got a founders package on offer at the moment. And part of the founders package is you get instant access in a WhatsApp group. So the community has already started in the WhatsApp group. And then in September, we'll move over to the app. So if you get the founders package, you get instant access now, even though it doesn't start till September.
Oh, brilliant. What we do, Is there a link for that?
Yes. Yeah.
If you can send me the link, and then I'll pop
Yeah.
that in the show notes as well, so people can get access to that.
Yeah.
And when in September is it launching?
It's launching on the 15th of September.
Okay, mid-September.
But yeah, like I say, in the WhatsApp group, we're already doing like monthly challenges. We did one in July, which was to try and increase your steps from June to July, and the person with the biggest percentage step increase won. This month's challenge is Get Sweaty, so I'm posting workouts and seeing who can improve their intensity minutes from the month before the most. So yeah, lots of like accountability, support, everything you need basically.
I think that's really important. That sounds really exciting, actually. Really good fun. I think, lots of women are going to really benefit from that. And again, as well, because it's online, they don't have to necessarily be in Bournemouth, but they can do their trips down there. But they've got the access to that wherever they are, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and also I'm going to be encouraging people to arrange their own meetups. So, if you can't make it down to the Bournemouth ones, if there's a lot of members in a particular area, I'll travel to that area and do one. Or if you realise there's 5 people all in the same area as you, like I'll encourage you to go and set up your own like walk or whatever. So yeah, it's going to be very much community centric. It's not going to be a Netflix library of things that you never use.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is to keep people motivated and keep using it at the end of the day. But also, I knew I asked about it earlier in the thing. What about socks? Why are you passionate about socks?
Because
the thing people have been waiting for to know about your socks.
So I do CrossFit, and there's a bit of a fashion in CrossFit to wear kind of like, crew socks, like the ones that are sort of halfway up the calf. Yeah. I say it's a fashion. It's normally the younger CrossFitters, but obviously I am, clinging on to my youth by being down with the kids. And I like to have a different pair to wear every single day. I go to CrossFit like usually about six days a week. So I need a lot of socks to fuel that. So I need different ones. They need to go with my other outfits that I have. So yeah, just all over the CrossFit socks.
I expect to see new pictures every day on your Instagram.
Oh, I posted a photo on my Instagram the other week, and someone was like, "Oh my God, that's next level." I've actually got a proper organizer for them. So there's like a pair that goes in each square, and I fold them over just so that you can see the top of each pair of socks, and they're just like in a big like lines like that inside the drawer. And someone was like, "Oh my God."
I like the sound of that though. That sounds great.
Well, it's like it's part of my ritual for making sure. So in Rude Health Club, we talk a lot about rituals rather than habits and routines, because rituals are something that make a routine enjoyable. So part of my ritual for making sure I get to CrossFit is like choosing, like opening the drawer, choosing the socks. Like it's all part of a ritual to make sure I get there.
Yeah, great. Oh, look, Hayley, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. It's so much fun, and it sounds so exciting. And I can't wait to share this with the audience, because they're going to learn a lot. And I think it's going to and I love the fact that you have this sort of no frills, no fluff sort of attitude towards health, and particularly sort of midlife and menopause when it comes to fitness. I like to hear that, rather like we talking about the mauve brigade.
Yeah, I feel like midlife women, yes, I feel like midlife women, we haven't got time to mess around. We just need to know, what can we do? What's going to work? Cut all the crap out and stop trying to sell me supplements. Let's just focus on what actually works.
What did you call it? Wankery?
Wellness wankery, yes.
Wellness wankery, yeah. That's going to be the word of the month, I think. Wellness wankery. And like you get these what's it? Movember. We'll need a
Movember
in it, do we? A wellness month, a wellness wankery month.
Yes, we do. I actually in our WhatsApp group, I was getting people to post advert, like the worst adverts they've seen for this kind of like wellness stuff. And somebody was posting like they found an advert for crystal bracelets that help you lose weight. There's just like all sorts of stuff. Anyway, maybe I'll start sharing the best ones on there. But I'm like, really? Someone who's like doing some heavy metal cleanse by rubbing crystals on themselves. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. This is worse than Gwyneth's jade eggs.
Oh, that's brilliant. I've had so much fun talking to you, Hayley. It's been great talking and hearing your story as well. And it's good to see you're well. But yeah. I guess that's it for today. But I want to really thank Hayley for joining us today. I'm sure everyone out there has been having a few laughs as well as learning. And yeah, I look forward to everyone joining us next time here on Unleash Your Inner Athlete. But for now, I'd like to say goodbye and thank you for joining us.